Hi guys, welcome to Repeat Content, the channel where you can watch me die. Alright, today I want to talk a little bit about crafting. If you already have some idea how crafting works in Path of Exile 2, you can click in the timestamp below to get to the changes of 0.4 and how I think crafting is going to go down. And if you're a new player, stick around and I will explain you the basics of crafting right now. Alright, so if you want to get into crafting, first of all, we need to understand how items look in Path of Exile. You've seen this, rares. They have 6 affixes and 3 of them are prefixes and 3 of them are suffixes. This is quite important for the items to know, why I will get into in a moment. So when we look at the items, we kind of have a rough idea what we want on them. And if you don't have a rough idea what you want on them, there is certain pages that have this information for you. I would really love to see if GGG could one day put this kind of information in the game. I know they're thinking about the crafting bench as a codex for possible affixes on items. It would be so awesome to have this and don't have to use third-party programs like I do here. So let me show you how Path of Exile can help you be a better crafter. This is how Path of Exile looks. It has an overview about every item you can craft. I'm going to craft some boots later, so let's have a look at boots. You can choose the base type. It's going to strength boots. And here you see like all the possible affixes that can come here, and they're also marked as prefixes and suffixes. So you can have a look here and see what mods are possible and what are useful for your build, and with what you might be okay to settle with. So you don't have FOMO of missing out of cool affixes on your gear. For example, movement speed and life might be useful for you, and there's some armor on here because we have a strength base, and there's some suffixes, you got resistances, and all this kind of thing, so you have a more or less idea what is possible on gear. Why this is important, I will also touch later in the end of the video when we're looking into how to craft such an item, but it's just useful to know that there's this information here. As I said, I would love to see this in-game one day, but until now we gotta stick around with third-party programs for this kind of information. So now let's go over about our available tools for crafting. First, we have our classic currency, which drops on the floor. You can make white items into blue items and then make them into red items. Red, bro, really? Who's seeing red over here? Of course, I meant yellow items that are rare. So basically, our normal currency is super random, and it adds random stats to it, or it removes random stats to it. And the goal with crafting overall is try to cook this down to a more deterministic way. And let's have a look about how this is possible. Also keep in mind that white items have no stats. Blue items, magic items, have 2 stats, which is always a prefix and a suffix. And then you have the rare items, the red items, that can have up to 6 mods, 3 each. First, we got essences. Essences you find in your maps or throughout the campaign. They're imprisoned monsters. You click on them and they're set free, and you can collect their essences. So there's basically 2 types of essences. The first one is the greater essences. They come also in smaller versions, of course, and they're basically a regal orb. So this allows you to take a blue item that has cool 2 stats you want and add a deterministic third one to it. In this case, it would be on armor and belt and jewelry. It would be lightning resistance. It is basically a regal orb. Next, we got the perfect essences. Perfect essences are a bit more powerful. These numbers got a bit nerfed, but overall, it's still super powerful to craft your gear. These are removing a stat and adding another stat. So they first annul something and then exile on something. So far, so good. I hope you're still following. If not, it will all make sense when I show you how to use them on an item in the end of the video. So next are omens. Omens are now somehow making all of this randomness a bit more deterministic. There's a lot of omens which might confuse you, but in the end they always come down to certain thing. Rather, they interact with prefixes or suffixes. So that's why it's important to know how many suffixes and prefixes are on your items in order to influence this in meaningful ways. Next on the menu, we have Abyss Crafting, which is the new mechanic introduced last week. So if you didn't play 3.0, here's a refreshing for you. Basically, we have the Abyss mechanic, which drops these kind of bones. We have this for every item piece. This one, in this case, it's desecrates a rare armor. So basically what you do is you take this, you slam it on your gear, and you get these desecrated mods. They can be a prefix and a suffix, and then you get the chance to unveil them and choose 1 out of 3. So this is a way that you can add in the end of your craft. If you have already 2 suffixes and you want a 3rd suffix, you can also again influence this with omens to guarantee you a suffix to get that 3rd resistance you always wanted on your boots. This is particularly powerful because Abyss crafting has this beautiful omen of light, which allows you to actually remove exactly and only the desecrated mod on your item. So if you don't get your 3rd resistance on your boots, you might go ahead and remove it and try to get it again. So you can over and over do this until you get deterministically your 4th stat on your item. And last but not least, we got Recombinating, which is a mechanic from Expedition. What this basically does is you can choose 2 items, select stats on them, and try to recombinate them together into a new item, which will have 2 of these chosen stats. And of course, it's RNG, so you have a certain chance to fail this, which will destroy your items, or if you succeed this chance, then you have a roll on a 50-50 roll on which base is going to choose and put your 2 stats on them. This is quite valuable to create bases to craft on them or clean up items which have a lot of stats that you don't want, to then try to put another useful set for you. So this is going to be quite valuable next league. And yeah, that's it basically. This is all we got the currency, we got the essences, we got the omens, which can then change your outcomes, and we got abyss crafting and recombinating, which is an overview about what is available to you. And once you figure this out, and it gets really fun, and you can experiment a little bit and come up with cool ideas to craft your gear. I mean, yes, it's complicated, but it's really, really fun. And I hope you have an overview now. Let's have a look on the changes on 0.4. Of course, the biggest loser is homogenizing exaltation. Goodbye, my dear friend. It was fun until it lasted. It feels like they're taking harvest away, but I'm okay with it. It's all right. Well, what basically happened for those who didn't play on 0.3 is we had so deterministic crafting that we could get insane full T1 gear in 1 or 2 weeks on all our characters, and the only way to improve it was to corrupt your items to get cool implicits, and I don't think that's healthy for the game. So I'm quite happy about these changes, and trust me, you're going to be fine. The way we have crafting with essences is going to enable you to kill T3 bosses with ease with solo self-found gear, where you put an essence, desecrate a little bit, and then your character is in a state where you can have fun, enjoy the game, and farm that currency you need to build really cool builds and have something to toss your characters against, because if you one-shot everything, where's the fun, all right? That's my hot opinion. If you feel differently, let me know in the comments. So that being said, let's have a look on how I imagine items going to be crafted and why I think magic items are going to be very important now. Magic items are going to be incredibly valuable in 0.4 because the only 3 ways that we can deterministically craft on this gear is through greater essences, which needs a magic item. Then we can desecrate to get a second one, and then in the end we can perfect essence, which you get an item with 2 stats, you add 3, you have 5 good stats, which is going to carry you quite far. Like, again, I'm not talking about the very, very high-end crafting. High-end crafting in 0.4 is still very much RNG. You're going to have to risk those Chaos Orbs. You're going to have to slam and pray to Chris Wilson that you land a T1 attack speed on your gloves. But still, in this kind of broke exile scenario where everybody's going to be in the league start, essences, desecrating, and the perfect essence is the way to go to craft your mid-tier gear. So the biggest question is going to be, how are we going to get our hands on such magic items? And the answer is going to be probably recombinating, that you're going to try to recombinate blue items together to get these kind of bases. On the other end, I'm hoping that the new Val temples we get are going to drop some good T5 items. Generally, picking up T5 rares and magic items is going to be very valuable this league. And besides that, now you know this information, you can have your eyes out for good magic items early on in the league to snipe those good items that you can craft onto sell for profit or use your character to progress deeper into the end game. Magic items are not the only source to do this. Of course, we're going to be adding more sources. For example, next I would maybe like to add a resistance. This item is going to be rare with 2 resistance and life on it. And maybe you can buy something like that off, or you drop a rare item like that. Or maybe it's even worth now to annul off a certain stat to get a more clean item. So you get the idea. Since the only ways available to you are going to be the greater essence, perfect essence, and desecrate to get your 3 mods on it, if you can further down the line get your hands on an item that has already 3 good mods, so you just do the last 2 steps of Desecration and Perfect Essencing, you get almost there where you want it to be. Let's get into the crafting. So I'm going to be making 2 versions. The first version is the YOLO craft. I don't give a fuck. I just slam my currency and hope for the best. And there is going to be a second, more advanced version after that. All right. So let's go ahead and take our Greater Essence. In this case, I'm going to craft boots like here. So I would want to go and do a resistance on it. I'm just going to take a Fire Res, slam it on. So we have some nice rare items. Next step is going to be adding a desecration, because I want to have like 3 resistances. So I want to add a desecrated suffix, which means I take my bones and I take the omen to now again go in and choose a suffix on my gear. Take my bone, slam it on, and now it's there. You could go unveil now, or you can also wait for later. So I'm going to wait for later. So now I'm going to go ahead and fill up my prefixes. Since I only have 1 prefix, there's 2 more to be. We got some shit armor base, and the last step would be then to go to my perfect essences. I want to get movement speed on here, and then I would choose my omen to only affect my prefixes. So as you can see, I try to fix my suffixes, have 1 good mod on my prefixes I want to keep. So the Gamba is then a 33% chance to remove life. So I have a 66% chance to win this and have my item crafted. Let's go ahead and slam and see what we get. And the life survived. You'll be done here. If you would have removed the life, then that's a brick at that point. Then your craft, you lost it. I mean, you can try to sell it for a couple of exalted and you would go again. So now you won the Gamba, the craft is done. You just go unveil it and see what you get. In that case, we got actually quite good lightning resistance. You keep it, you're done. This is the quite fast way to do it. And now let's get into the more sophisticated, where I'm going to talk a bit more details on why I do certain things if you're interested into. First step is going to be the same of a greater essence that I slam on here to get my resistance. Now let's talk a bit about the omens for desecration, because there's also this omen of lineage, sovereign, and the black-blooded. These allow you to further cook down the abyss modifiers that you can get on these items. For example, this will allow you to get Kurgle modifiers, this will allow you to get Ulaman modifiers, and this will allow you to get Amunama modifiers. And what these modifiers are, you can again go on the first page of Path of Exile and have a look on, so to see if you want to further influence this step. In that case, I'm not going to do it. The only thing I'm going to be doing is, again, just go for the necromancy to provide me a suffix here. So now we have 4 mods, and we can use an orb that I didn't talk about before, which is a fracturing orb. What fracturing does is secures one of the mods on your gear, which you cannot then change anymore. And since in the last step we're going to try to fix our prefixes, and we have this chance to lose our life, we can now have an attempt on saving this life so we don't break our item. If fracturing orbs are not expensive, I would recommend you doing this to try to hit that life. In this case, we didn't do it. We lost it again. Now we lost it again, and we lost it again, and now we hit it. Like, this can happen. Therefore, it's always a gambling. I would stop after the first time just to have a try on the way, but I just want to demonstrate how it would look if you win this, because then now the craft is done. You cannot lose the life anymore, so you don't break your item. So then let's go on to the next step and exalt our prefixes here. We're going to, if you want to go really big, you can go perfect exalts, but they're going to be quite expensive because, as I said, the really high end of crafting are going to be relying only on these now, so I expect them to be even more expensive. I will just go with greater and fill up my prefixes. Again, we got movement speed, which I didn't want, just for demonstration purposes. So now we are in this step again. This is going to stay the same. I'm going to have my Essence of Hysteria, where I choose my prefixes only to not fuck up my suffixes, and I go slam it. And now the only mods that can be removed are the non-fractured prefixes. In this case, since my life is fractured, that's why it's quite good that if you can land that fracturing orb, it's going to save you some time. And now, since we got such a good item, there's also the Omen of Abyssal Echoes, which allows you to reroll your suffixes twice. This is actually, in most cases, cheaper than using an Omen of Light, because the Omen of Light everybody's going to use to fix their last stat on their item is going to be quite expensive, so it's usually worth to use an Abyssal Echoes in case you don't get the first resistance on the first unveil. So let's go ahead. Now we got it. I'm just going to pretend I didn't get it and try a second time, and now I got it actually. So now again, our boots are good. In this way, they're even better because we use better Exalted Orbs. We had no chance of failing our life. So as you can see, this is a very good item, and all in all, this is how you can approach your mid-tier crafts to get throughout the end game. If you liked crafting and you want to know more, come and say hello on Twitch. I will help you craft your gear, and let me know in the comments below what you think about the changes of 0.4. Thank you, and see you next time.